Okay, so episode 8, I had a good friend of mine, Mike Robinson, come in. He is an entrepreneur, businessman, and he's successfully started up two different companies and was able to sell both of those. He's also a tech enthusiast, so he tells us how he's integrated technology into his home and into his businesses. And we've talked about everything from dire wolves to AI and robotics. So, really cool episode. Enjoyed it. So, without further ado, I give you Mike Robinson.
Yada, yada, yada. I never heard from him again.
I put you in as an entrepreneur, businessman, and I think one of the things that really interests me is that you've built a couple businesses and sold them, and been pretty successful at that. And I know you did the gaming in the beginning. Since we're on that subject, kind of tell me how that all turned out. That was right out of high school, if I remember right, or something.
Well, I've always been into gaming. What got me interested? Let's go back to the entrepreneur. I've always wanted to own my own business. Um, when it took off is when I started working for GameStop. It was Babbage's back then, and then I moved over to Game Crazy. Well, Game Crazy was such a small area. We tried to do tournaments. We do midnight sales, and you couldn't get a lot of people in the room. So my idea was to open a business where we could do the tournament somewhere else. All the customers could come in and, just enjoy spending time with each other. And then it turned into something else where I
Right.
wanted to do retail.
Right.
So Game Crazy closed down. That forced me to do retail faster. But luckily, everybody followed me, and I miss it. I kind of wish I wouldn't have got rid of it, to be
Really?
honest.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was a huge deal there for a while over on that side of town, and it grew pretty big. And so, what really motivated you to make a transition from that to? I know you sold that and then went into some other things, and me and you have always been in contact.
We have,
Basically,
yes.
it's been like, if you come up with a good idea, holler at me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I know we both have that kind of find it hard to just settle into the rat race. We want to be a part of the growth of and find our way, our own way. So you were in that area, and what really motivated you to make that sell and that move?
Well, honestly, the industry was changing. It was all going digital at that time. Now, I sold older video games, Nintendos, Super Nintendos, things of that nature. So, sure, you could extend your business life for another, 10 years, but the majority of it went digital, and I thought it was a good time to get out.
Yeah.
And then I had a couple of brothers that were wanting to open a business, more of a collectible comic book, figures. And I asked them if they wanted to buy, and they said yeah. And it took them a couple banks, but they got it done.
Yeah.
And they're doing great.
Yeah, they're still there, right?
Yeah.
Same
Well,
location.
they moved buildings.
Oh, they did.
Actually, a better spot. It's over in front of Lowe's on South Side.
Yeah.
But and they kind of put. I feel like they moved the games in the back a little more and did collectibles and
Yeah.
things like that.
Me
So-
and my friends spend a lot of time there.
What's that you say, Tristan?
Oh, me and my friends spend a lot of time there.
Oh, okay. So yeah, cool. So that business has transitioned more into the collectibles,
Yes. Yeah.
and not as much into the gaming and things.
That was their thing. They've done that for years. Collected comic books, sold comic books, went out and find hard to find comic books.
Right.
And they're doing fantastic.
So that industry is probably one of the ones that's kind of went away from digital. Most everything people are doing nowadays. My youngest son will be, I want to buy this, and I'm like, what do you mean? What is it? And it's actually something on a game, a digital version of whatever. And I'm like, man, I don't know, dude. You think that's where you want to put your money? But yeah, so that's kind of the new generation still going for something more.
Mhm.
I talked with a counselor not too long ago,
Okay.
and she was talking about that, some of the things that she's dealt with in the younger generations, and that they don't have a lot of grounding of something here. It's all either virtual or over the internet, and makes it she said they're starting to see a lot of issues with just how to interact with one another like this,
Oh,
face
yeah.
to face, you know.
Yes.
And
Well, the phone, the cell phones
Sure.
took that away from us, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah,
Made us not talk, even made us get away from the dinner table.
yeah, yeah. So I always had a thing that it was important to me to, no matter, when everybody was living at home,
Yeah.
that we would have dinner. Everyone sit down, and it may not be every night, but usually 3 or 4 nights a week, we'd all sit down and we shut the phones away and we talk and figure out, just to hear each other's voice and see what's going on in each
How your
other's
day
lives.
went. Yeah. How
stuff like
school
that.
was.
Back in high school, I had a friend over, and she was really confused by that whole setup, where you all sit down at the dinner table.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's where I was going with it. What he said there is, he had friends that would be like, "What are you doing? You sit down and eat together?" And it's weird to me to even think of that. That seems odd.
All right.
Yeah. So, do you have anything to do? Do you still game or anything like that, or just?
Well, when I sold the business, I sold everything. I sold almost everything personal wise as well. But yeah, I had to pick it back up because there's a few games out there that, nowadays they're mind blowing games.
I don't know.
One of my favorite now, which I beat, is called Ghost of Tsushima, and I always probably butcher that name, but it's on PlayStation 5. Well, it was on 4, but then the remaster is on 5. Anyway, great game.
Yeah. You do a lot of travel with what you're doing now, so
I do.
does it make it harder to find time, or you just tote a PS5 with you?
No, when I'm out on the road, I don't worry about bringing it. Although I have friends that take it with you. We'll play online,
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I do I play around with it too, just because Shelby does it. So it is kind of fun to be able to sit there and have 4 or 5 different people, like my daughter's at her mom's, and Shelby's doing it, and we have 3 or 4 friends involved, and you're able to really get into a little thing there, and it's more, otherwise you'd be sitting there watching TV. This way you're able to get into something where I can talk to my daughter. It may not be what necessarily dinner table, but there is some conversation there.
I know your daughter's a drummer.
Yeah.
So that'll bring me to this: is we just picked up a Rock Band 4. So a bunch of us have been getting together, just rocking out in the garage and having a great old time.
That's cool. Yeah.
Older to younger kids,
Right.
Just enjoying it.
So then you kind of moved over into, I know you owned a gym there for a while, because I remember Shelby and I helped out with some cameras or something.
Some cameras, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you were able to sell that one, right?
Luckily.
Yeah.
It was during COVID.
Okay.
And that's when none of the members, they all went away. They didn't want to come back. They started to, but it wasn't fast.
Yeah.
But Chad, he was one of the members, and he ended up wanting to buy it.
Yeah.
He did, and from what I understand, he's doing way better than I did.
Well.
Yeah, so I'm glad for him.
That's awesome. Yeah, COVID was a big deal. I remember we had some rental properties and people just quit paying. They just decided that they didn't have to.
That had to be rough.
Yeah. So from there, where did you go after the gym?
Well, my wife can work from home, so she worked at the gym, and that got me out to go get something with insurance, to be honest.
Right. No, I understand that.
So I got on at FedEx Ground, worked there for a little bit, but I knew some friends that worked Express, and they told me when there's an opening that I would, they'd put in my name. And I remember I was in Madisonville for FedEx Ground, not Madisonville, sorry, Evansville. And he called me while I was out on the road, and he said, "Man, you got to put it in right now, your resume."
Right.
Well, luckily my wife was at the hotel with me, and she was able to do that.
Wow.
And then I got hired on.
Cool. So I know you do, you got some other things you're into. We had talked about them several different times, some different, what is it? I'm trying to think of the name of the one we were talking about. You were pushing it with some healthcare issue.
It was, at the time, it might have been Advocare.
Yeah, Advocare.
I've always been into side hustles. I've always been into side hustles. I think
side hustles.
Side hustles, yeah. I'm a firm believer in like multiple streams of income, and if anybody tells you the side hustles of like multi-level marketing are easy, or just lying to you, because it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a business, and you got to treat it like a business.
Yeah.
But I've always been fascinated with the side hustle.
Yeah.
And nowadays, see, there's all kinds of side hustles. You got
That's true.
Uber. There's all kinds of side hustles you can do.
I think I've heard it called the gig economy.
Gig economy. Yep.
Yeah. It's everything is per job. And so what is your side hustle right now?
We are with a company called Live Good, and they have flipped a switch on the industry. And what I mean by that, I always say this: it's like the cab company, that industry. The cab was number one for hundreds of years, in their industry until what come along, which was Uber and Lyft and businesses like that. Well, that's what this company is doing with the multi-level marketing. It's a membership-based company. All you do is share a membership, and then there's you don't get money off products. It's not product driven. I do like the products because everybody can afford them. Right. That's why the membership is so good. So it's just like Costco.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, or maybe like Sam's Club.
Or Sam's Club.
You join it and you get of course access to Sam's Club stuff, and then whatever discounts you can by going to like a huge organization that can buy it large scale. I think a lot of time, and I'm over the years, multi-level marketing got a bad rep for a while, it got so bad that people would just as soon as they caught on to what you were trying to say, they were out.
Yeah.
But I think
your mic's speaking a little bit. You maybe turn down the volume just a tad.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. Rather get it right. Yeah. So back to it with the multi-level marketing. I think you had, like I said, it had a bad rap for it. But at the same time, I think the idea is a good idea and maybe a little ahead of its time. Now that we're getting into, I hate to keep you saying COVID, but COVID changed the world quite a bit in itself. It did. Yeah. A lot of people are doing things, I think they're having a hard time and you may be able to even talk about this, just the amount of things that are shipped nowadays. I can imagine it has tripled since COVID. And that's because people are buying a lot of stuff from home.
That's exactly what I was about to say. COVID forced people that didn't normally shop online to shop online.
Yeah.
So yeah,
then it became a norm, because I know the person I'm thinking of right now would have been someone who would never have done that. And now they order everything, even their Walmart order is done, and then they have it brought to their house just because they're like, wow, this is really convenient,
Well, and now they're making it so much easier. You can go in, purchase it on your app, and you don't have to stand in line.
Right.
You just buy it right there and walk out.
Walk out, yeah.
Yeah. And we went to, I think it was in St. Louis. Yeah, it was in St. Louis when I was merchandising. And it was at a casino, and they had a shop in there that you'd walk in and you'd walk out. So you'd put your credit card in. You wouldn't talk to anybody. You grab what you wanted, walk out, and it just charges it.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's been actually pretty popular in like Asia. I know China has that, where you just walk in and you're a member in there. And as you just, like you said, just fill up your basket. And when you walk out, it checks it all as you leave.
So. I mean, to me, I think that's genius.
Convenience, yeah.
Convenient, yeah. Yeah.
I think that, just like for years, for decades, people were afraid of any kind of change, especially when it comes to some kind of technology.
Well, and change I don't know, is hard, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's where that really bases from, but I mean everything from the tractor, changed the world, and then
the wheel, yeah,
the wheel, yeah, and it just progressively gets like that. But you do have to admit that we live in a very convenient age.
We do.
Yeah.
We absolutely do.
Yeah. So with the multi-level marketing, I think maybe being ahead of its time, but now with everything being bought online, there's opportunities for people to be members of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily like it used to be. I think I've had several friends over the years that would have something like that. One of them was selling water filters and one was selling, this. But now that you have that opportunity to buy and sell online, it's not so much of getting these people out, turning everybody into a salesperson. You're just, in my opinion, if you had a club, you could just say, well, you join this, you're a member just like you are Sam's Club. And it's,
Well, the thing I like about the multi-level marketing industry is if you get something you like, I mean, it's just like going to a great steak place. You're going to tell people about that great steak.
yeah.
And that's just what it is about, say, Live Good with their products is, everybody can afford what they have, and it's all organic. I mean, it's really top-notch products.
So what kind of stuff do they sell, I guess would be the thing.
Yeah.
Is it going to be, just tell me some of the products they offer.
Well, they do the vitamins. They also have protein, whether it's plant-based, whey protein. They have things like patches for energy or to help you sleep. They also have this, which I've never even heard of it. Have you heard of methylene blue?
Yes, I actually heard of it today.
Yeah, that's actually a new thing I have never heard of. Started using it, and I love it.
Yeah. And it's for energy, isn't it, if I'm right?
It's for a lot of things,
Yeah.
to be honest. Well, it's kind of like a nootropic for your brain. But it's weird. I'm still learning about it, but I think it used to be a dye or something. Now, I'm still learning about this product, but when you it's a little like strip that you put on your tongue, or you can put it in water and let it dissolve, but it makes your mouth blue. I mean, really blue, like Smurf.
Oh, really?
Yeah, blue. But and you take it every other day.
Well, I know nootropics are really popular right now too. I think there's several groups that have different products out there that do that, but it's definitely something for like cognitive retention and things like that.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Which I know I could definitely use
because
I got too
That's
many
why
things.
I started
going
taking
on.
it.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this particular one?
Since May of 23.
And you've been pretty successful at it. Yeah.
I'm not where I want to be. I'm still growing. It's not, to me, I don't tell anybody it's a get rich quick.
Yeah.
It's something that can build over time and just continue to grow.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it is the retention of the customers. They do like the products and they won't go anywhere else.
Right. And you said you just recently had your own weight loss kind of a journey and some success there. So what was that? You said how many pounds have you lost?
I've lost 62 pounds.
Wow. That's
and I feel great.
Yeah.
Like I went down 2 pant sizes, 2 shirt sizes. I've just never felt this good in a long time.
And so where do you credit that to? Changing the way your diet, your exercise, or
it's not one thing. It's a few things. I call it a synergy of things coming together.
Right.
So I do the carnivore diet, and I'm not 100%. I say a dirty carnivore where I'll throw in a salad, or like tonight I had a piece of pizza. Right. So I do throw it in every now and then. So I am a type 2 diabetic, and I started taking the Manjaro shot. I do believe that's helped with my appetite.
Mm-hmm.
But when I eat, I still eat, and I eat a lot of meat.
Yeah.
And then I do a little bit of fasting. I started out at first from like 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And now I pretty much try to stay in 12 to 6.
Yeah.
That's my eating time frame. But eat lunch and dinner, and that's it.
Yeah. So the Live Good, you attribute some of that weight loss there as well?
Oh, yeah. Maybe... I'm a firm believer in supplements. I do think you need supplements. We do not get the nutrients in our foods like, say, our grandparents did. You do need to supplement. That's just my belief.
Well, I mean, I follow you there. You're looking at large farms nowadays where they have go through this. I can't remember exactly where I heard this from, but they were talking about these farms have gotten so they have so many people to feed.
Oh yeah,
they're just basically killing the topsoils. So a lot of our vegetables and things are nutrient deficient completely. And then on top of that, you have the sugar industry and all these other corporations that are really pushing. We don't have as much. Well, one thing that I guess I would talk about would be, you see the current administration with Robert Kennedy Jr. He's really making some bold steps.
Yes, he is.
To get rid of some some toxins in our foods and our beverages, things that's been taken out of other countries for years now.
Well, why do they put synthetic dyes?
Yeah.
Like what is it, red dye number 40 or 4 or something like that? Like why do you, in the same food in another country wouldn't have it?
Yeah. And a lot of like the yellows and stuff like they put in just to make even the brown, just to make the sodas look more brown. And so to me, it really, it can be a little confusing. I mean, when you're trying to make sure that you yourself and your family are not putting toxins in their body, how do you get around that in the modern world? It's really tough.
And in the way they word things on the boxes, it's like you really got to pay attention to what's in there.
Yeah.
Because I just don't believe everything they say is right.
Well, I mean, I remember listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan where he was talking about the sugar industries back in the 50s when they actually developed the food pyramid, so-called food pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, they were heavily involved in that, where they were putting, trying to get their products out there. And I think it was like 4 or 5 different scientists that were basically paid off to make that happen. And then that's where I think a big turning point of America, and even the TV dinners and the things that were developed back then, the way they were marketed was part of
that they're
problem.
Healthy and the lean pockets and things like that, and it's not.
Yeah, I think just the more natural you can stay with it. To this day, I don't think they've come up with anything that is better for you than water. Just the standard thing that covers the entire planet. It is not a lot. I mean, of course, you can put minerals and things in there, but when it comes down to it, they can't beat the just simplest thing on Earth. So
you just plain old water.
Yeah, just plain old water. So,
yeah, well, remember eggs. Eggs are good for us. Eggs are bad for us.
Yeah,
they're good for it. They just keep going back and forth.
Yeah. It's frustrating to live in a society when you're not really sure if you're being sold.
Meat again, it's bad for you. And there's still people say to this day, no, you don't need to eat meat.
Yeah.
It's like you can get all your nutrients out of meat, but you can't do that with carbs. You can live without carbs.
But it's really hard to live without proteins.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the red meats and, I'm not a scientist by no means, but I do know that the red meats have some, enzymes in them and things that help break down that. So you're getting as much out of it
as you can. Yep. That's right. Yep.
So anyways, we're getting a little off topic here. So to Live Good, you've had some success with that, and give me a little bit more information about that. I don't want to really be a commercial, but I am interested in how that organization works. You said it's a multi-level, but it's more of a club.
Yeah, it's not really. I mean, it is multi-level marketing, but it isn't. I mean, you still want to network with people and build a team if you're serious about it, but you got to think everything is going to membership based. I mean, what if Amazon, when they first started as a membership company, paid out? I mean, look at them now. They have, 250 million members? I mean, Netflix. I mean, there's all kinds of memberships out there. Well, of course, we already talked about Costco and Sam's Club. But if you jump into a business like Live Good, what sets it apart is you don't get hurt. Meaning, other companies you have to buy in. With Advocare at the time, to be at the 40% level, you had to spend $1,400, if I remember right.
Yeah,
$1,400. Now you could sell to get to that, or you can buy your way. Here, it's a one-time $40 fee, and it's $9.95 a month.
Yeah.
If you decide 2 years from now that you want to get out, and then 2 years that you want to come back, you never have to pay that $40. You're a member for life. All you got to do is pick up your $9.95.
Well, I mean, that's very similar to, I can't tell you how many Amazon memberships I actually have right now between my wife and the business and the shop. And that's just a monthly fee that I pay. and I don't get I really have to think about what I'm getting for that. I don't get any kickbacks. That's for darn sure. And, I guess in some of those with the primes, I might be getting some discounts or maybe some more quick service. So what I'm hearing is you're basically signing up for this particular club, and you also can possibly get some money back for what you spend or what people spend with you.
Well, no, there's as far as you don't make money off products.
Okay.
The products are priced so low. That's how they're able to do. The company is able to do what they can do. That's how the hell. Let me get. I got tongue tied. That's how they are able to keep the prices so low because they do a membership.
I see.
And then the membership pays out.
I see. So the more people you have as a member under you get.
Yes.
Well, I like that a lot better than the idea of pushing a product, trying to get, because then you sign someone up. They may not be a person who's, really wants to get out there and form this huge network of people. However, they do want to buy the product. So it's not, not being product push based. That would make a difference.
And again, it's global. If you travel, you can talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
The other thing that they're about to start up, and I think is huge. So Live Good has disrupted the networking industry, and they're about to disrupt the fundraising industry.
Okay.
So, and what I mean by that is they are going to go to schools. So now, you go buy a Spirit card, or you buy shrubs or coffee, or, something like that. And then you just got to start all over. Well, what if these schools, sports teams, churches, whatever, can start this Live Good fundraising, and it pays you every month.
Right.
It's a residual for them. It's gonna change fundraising.
Yeah, that could be a big one there because
it's still early, so I can't really talk more about it, but it should be coming, I think, this month.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that could be, that's definitely a big move for them to do that. So, all right. So now you do a lot of travel now with the current job you have, right?
Well, I do less travel as far as I moved up to sales.
Uh-huh.
I do work at HT Hackney, and I love this company. It's a very good company. I was a merchandiser. I was a head merchandiser, so we had a team of 4, and we'd go to Kansas City, St. Louis, pretty close to Nashville, a lot of other places in Tennessee, and we'd stay a week at a time. So I'd come home on weekends, be gone for 2 or 3 weeks. It just kind of got old.
So when you say you were a merchandiser, HT Hackney, I'm honestly, I thought they were just a shipping company. What exactly do they do?
Yeah, see, it's funny. I thought they were when I first heard about them, I thought they were a local company.
Yeah, I do too.
And they're not. And matter of fact, they've been in business, I think since 1891.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're like, if I remember right, they're number 2 in their industry.
And so what exactly is that industry?
We service and sell convenience stores.
Oh, okay.
If you go into, now not all of them, like if you go into Huck's, 7-Eleven, Casey's, they do their own. But if you, let's see, I'm trying to think of one to be close there. Indian
Hills.
Yeah, Indian Hills right up here. If you go in, you'll see a tag. It has an H logo, and that's us.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess you do a lot of independent then.
A lot of independents, yeah. A lot of chains, a lot of independents. Matter of fact, that's what I do now. I cover Southern Illinois, and I have nothing but in independents.
So your job is just basically make sure they have what they need, any new products.
New product. We help them with their old product. If it's outdated, we'll take it out for them, and any new stuff, which they have new stuff all the time come out. So yeah, we just update them, and we try to get them the best sales they can.
I really have seen that industry change over the past few years. You see like the Buc-ee's and and like when you walk into a Huck's nowadays, it's like walking into some kind of bistro. They have so many different.
Yeah, the food portion of it is huge as well. Of course, the candy, salty, like peanuts, things of that nature. But yeah, going to like Buc-ee's, it's just like it's an event.
Yeah, that's really it. It's become a tourist kind of attraction. You have to catch a Buc-ee's on your way through.
When I first drove by and I saw all the fuel pumps, I'm like, man, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then, have you been to St. Louis and went to Wally's?
No, but I've heard about that.
Yep. They're their marketing has went a different way, but they're just as huge. I mean, big.
It's not on the same level, but I remember when the 5-star opened up around here.
Yeah.
I think everyone in the center was there. It was like a fair.
It's a big thing, yeah.
Yeah, we had a 5-star come to La Center, and it was like huge, and that place is completely covered up. What about that? Do you so you say you do a lot of independents? Do the independents? I know that if I was an independent in a small town and you had something like that come in, I'd be a little concerned. Do you see that being an issue with them, or plenty of business for everybody?
No, I do think when the bigger guys come in, yeah, it does scare the independent mom and pops,
Yeah.
But, the mom and pops have been in for a long time. There's loyal people that continue to go to them. Sure. Yeah, the big guys coming in is going to hurt them.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I've been out and about seeing some of those stores there, I guess one of the big questions I would have for someone is when it comes to fuel. I've been told that the fuel is just there, but the money's really made inside the store. They don't really make that much money off the fuel because it's so competitive. Is that what you hear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's primarily they have to stop for gas somewhere.
It's kind of like a movie theater.
Yeah.
Their money's made on the concessions on the inside. Yeah.
So this is going to be a weird question, but what do you think about the next 10 years with the big move to the electric car? Is that going to affect that at all, do you think? Because you just see many gas stations still popping up, and I'm like, they're pushing so hard to get to electric cars, yet every seems like month you see a new convenience store popping up with the gas pumps.
I know. Probably more than you see the charging stations.
Absolutely. I can't even. I know of maybe 2 charging stations in the area.
I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables in it that could change, the course of it. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one.
Yeah.
I would say it's going to continue to grow. I mean, obviously, you're seeing a lot more vehicles come up with all electric. Have you seen this new truck? And I think I read where Bezos is helping do it. It's called the Slate truck. Yeah, look it up. It's like an all-electric vehicle, and it starts out as a truck, but you can make it an SUV. You can put a back on it.
Oh, really?
And you can customize it the way you want. And they're saying like the starting price is only $25,000.
Wow, that's crazy.
So,
yeah. So I think there's been this big trend in getting out of the standard way of doing things. I think sometimes as a nation or as a world, we get into this is how we do it. This is how you build a car. This is how you do this. And then when you get people starting to think outside the box, excuse me, you get into where you're starting to find, the interiors on a car. We restore old cars, and it's a different world. I mean, the interior on a car will be stripped down, and everything is just a tablet. The the instrument gauge, the instruments, and all that are all just basically a tablet that's put in there. And convenience wise, I could see it very easy to replace if you had a problem with that.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you deal with the shipping side of your company much? I mean, you have you just take an order and your company, of course, handles most of the shipping, I guess, because I see them.
Yeah, we do everything.
Yeah.
Got a big warehouse.
Yeah.
They used to be on. Oh, I forgot
They had one on 8th Street, I think. Here.
That's where it was. Yep, 8th Street. Yeah. And of course, they outgrew it, and it was getting old, so they built a new one, and it's massive.
So, do you have issues with like employees and getting new drivers in and things like that? I mean, I'm sure that's not your department, but
it's not. But I hear a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure your clients are the ones that'll be asking you if there's if they have issues with getting deliveries done.
My customers call me.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I had one call me at 11 o'clock the other night.
Oh, really?
Of course, I was sleeping. I didn't hear it, but and it goes both ways too. Like, a customer called. No, excuse me. I went to the customer to deliver something that they missed on an order, and he said, "Yeah, I just want to let you know too that your driver." He said he's on it. He's a top-notch driver. He's always courteous. So of course, I passed that along. So
right.
Yeah, we got good drivers.
Yeah. I've heard there's going to be a kind of a lack of drivers in the future. You're not seeing as many people get into that industry.
Well, if the car company makers have their way, they'll have electric trucks.
Yeah.
And, was it Amazon? Of course, Amazon's driving everything, it seems like, or Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
Elon and Tesla, but self-driving trucks.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's just, it seems so far-fetched.
But just a self-driving car at one time. Now,
Yep.
I was somewhere in Nashville and this car pulls up and these people get in it and there was no driver. They had on their app tapped in and the car came to them, picked them up and took off, and there was no driver at all.
Well, actually, I think I remember, wasn't it at CES this year that Elon introduced almost like self-driving like cabs, but they're vans, right?
Right.
If I remember right. Who knows? I mean,
yeah, it's moving really fast.
We're talking about tech here again because I'm a big tech head, by the way. But
yeah,
I hope we're alive to see us go to Mars.
Yeah, I see it happening. I don't see it being an impossibility. I do wonder sometimes though, because Elon is talking about going to Mars for quite a bit, but then at the same time, when he talks about even going back to the moon, the technical difficulties to get back there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have the whole moon landing conspiracy.
Yeah.
And, and I'm not a big conspiracy theorist guy. I'll be like, yeah, that sounds interesting, but I don't really deep dive it. But that particular one, I mean, there is a radiation belt that we have to get through.
Yeah.
And Elon talking about going back to the moon he makes it seem really hard to pull off. And all of the data from the moon landings is just disappeared. We don't have any of that information, and it does make you wonder what's going on there. So how could a guy, and I'm talking with very limited information here, how could a guy who seems it so hard to get to the moon somehow figures we can make it to Mars? Makes me wonder.
Yeah, he could just be spinning some PR, But
yeah, who knows? I mean, at his level, he can. Yeah,
his brain's constantly just moving and thinking and what can I do?
Well, and let's go to that part. So I just got this little bitty rinky dink, car, restoration thing here in the middle of nowhere. And I run a little podcast and I got a small family and I will go 18 hours, without stopping sometimes. The other day I worked 32 hours straight, so how do they pull that off? How does someone at that level? It's got to be micromanaged down to the minute.
You would think, yeah. You would. You honestly think that? I don't know. His brain, it's just got to be. Surely, hopefully, he writes Don't leave your future to your thoughts. You got to write it down. I'm sure that's what he does. But
yeah, I know they do some block scheduling and stuff. I've tried that before.
And you got smart people under you too.
Yeah, I think
very smart people.
Yeah, that's got to be it. You got to really rely on a lot of people at that level. It just seems like there's so many areas of breakdown, with that level and that huge scale, with multiple, businesses.
He's working constantly. He is.
Yeah.
You never hear him going on vacation. At least I haven't read anything where he goes on vacation.
Yeah.
So he probably works all the time.
Yeah. So going back to tech, you're a techie there. So where do you see the gaming going ahead? We're seeing some VR stuff going in, and most everything is now done online.
It is. Yeah. I finally did my first VR. I don't know, maybe 3 months ago. And when you played VR as a kid or a teenager growing up at our age, it was cool back then. But this new VR, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they have done things that blows my mind.
Really?
Yeah. The VR it's if they can continue what they're doing and grow on it, it's going to be big.
I seen Howie Mandel was talking about a box or a cube that he is invested in. I should have done a little more research on that before the podcast here, but it's basically where you can interact with a hologram. So,
oh, really? No, I hadn't heard that either.
So it looks like a little closet that I could be sitting here and they could put me on stage at Vegas, and that he was talking about how a lot of comedians could take advantage of that because you don't have to be, you could actually be somewhat in person with this hologram, which is interesting. And of course, then you take that into meetings.
But, who knows? I mean, you remember? Have you seen Ready Player One?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's going to get like that, but VR could totally get like that.
Yeah, I could see it being limitless if you give it enough time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the next level of video gaming in general, graphics are still going to grow, but I think where the advancements are going to be, say Grand Theft Auto, you'll be able to go into the city. Each room in a skyscraper will be different. You may not be able to go in each room, but each room will look different. In sports games, in the audience, like they all had the same shirt on.
Right.
Now everybody's got different shirts. They all look different. I think the level of detail is going to get even more insane.
Well, just
procedural generation is a big part of that. Taking assets and like you'll have thousands of assets and you can randomize it thousands of times and get thousands of different people in the audience.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just blown away by just how intricate a game like Fortnite is. Like Shelby, she streams it, but that game is huge map, and you can have a character out in the middle of the water, out on the side of the map, nothing to do with the game, and down in the water there's like coral and all kinds of very detailed stuff. So it's amazing how
the openness of games now has just gotten out of hand, I guess you'd say. It's just growing.
Yeah, and being able to think about how VR is going to affect that and what the next stage is mind-boggling.
Well, like the Microsoft thing. No, it was Apple's VR. Forgot what they call it, but anyway, you'll be able to interact. Do your hands and where your eye movements go. Like if you want to open an app, you just go over and look at it. It'll open up.
Yeah,
but they got to get the price down. I mean, that was like $3,500, I think, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm as that goes, I'm sure it'll dramatically decrease over a few years, as most things do, as far as tech is, in my opinion. Yeah. And then with the with AI, where do you see AI going? Are you following that at all? Do you follow the AIG thing?
Yeah, the Chat GBT. I've been using it quite a bit. I truly think the AI models is going to make more millionaires this year than ever before. It's like it's your personal assistant. You can rely on it, at the drop of a pen.
Yeah.
And it's so quick. It can combine all your emails and give you, updates just on the fly.
You're getting a lot of pushback from it, though.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know that's normal for most technologies, but you're seeing it step in and possibly take jobs and things like that. And you're getting a lot of pushback on that. But that's happened over the years. But at some point, maybe, we get to a point where it could actually cause some significant problems. How do you feel about that?
Well, to be honest, it's I won't say evolution, but I think it needs to happen.
Right.
In certain, there's always going to be, I guess people are worried it's going to take their jobs, things of that nature. If we can integrate it into what we do, not just take over.
Right.
That's where I want to see it.
More as a tool.
And I do think that, yes, some industries it's just going to take over. It makes it too easy not to, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I was also again going back to the person I had in here was a counselor. She was talking about, there's places for it, but herself going through the issues that she did over her life is something that, I don't know that they'll ever be able to replicate that. Experiences that you've had in your life, especially negative ones. Being able to go to someone who you can relate to and say, I know they've been through something similar.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to get the same things like that. However, there is AI counselors out there now.
Yeah, that seems kind of odd.
It's really jumped.
It takes away that human interaction, and you need that.
Yeah. Yeah, but in the last 2 years, I've seen AI just make such a move forward. And I think if they ever really combine the robotics of the, as far as they've come to an AI, that could be interesting.
It could be Skynet.
Yeah.
Starting. Did you see the video where this one robot, I think it was in China, it actually started going crazy and attacking them?
Yeah, trying to attack. There's also another one where two chatbots were talking to each other and created their own language.
No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, they started.
Wow.
They came up with their own language between the two of them, and no one could understand it. And then there was another one that just sporadically decided to learn Portuguese. No one told it to do that.
Just did it on its own.
On its own, yeah.
It's an old one, but there's a video of like there's like a police bot, and the lady went there to get some help, and it basically told her to screw off and then rolled away singing.
Oh wow!
Which is like an actual thing that happened.
Yeah, yeah. The AIG thing is definitely creating a new almost life form is what they're saying. So that's interesting to see. Yeah. And where that goes.
Scary,
and there's some moral issues there as to what you're doing,
Well, okay. If we're talking about the future, did you see where they, I don't know if the word's, I guess, clone the dire wolf? Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's a great thing. I've seen that. That is insane. And they're in the process of creating the woolly mammoth. They're 99%, like 99 point something, dire wolf or mammoth. So
we've got reference books and movies to tell us not to do stuff like this,
Yeah. I mean, it is Jurassic Park to a T. I mean, that's how they're doing it. They're using that technology. And when you look at like a dire wolf, it is and the names. Tristan, see if you can find the names on those new dire wolf clones they've gotten going. It's
I think I did.
Romulus and Remus.
Yeah, Romulus and Remus.
Yes.
Let's get the scariest freaking names for these, beasts from the past.
It's from a Roman story about wolves.
Yeah, I've heard their names. I probably would know the story if I.
But the babies were cute as a button, though. I
mean, wait till they get full grown. That's something that's crazy. I watched that entire podcast that Joe Rogan. He had the CEO of that guy on there, and it's not a nonprofit. It's an actual
private
company, and they're going to nonprofits trying to give them their technology and so that they could build off of it, and they're not. People are backing up on it again. I guess there's a lot of moral issues with bringing back things from the past like that.
I believe in that. I believe it's not a thing we should do.
It's hard to say, and again, why are we doing this?
Because we can, I guess.
Yeah. So I know that for a while there was in California, they had an issue with wolves, and now they're trying to reintegrate the wolves back into California, and they're like, that's not going to work. Because these are predators. These are like super predators, and you have children and animals, in these areas now, and people, they get the teddy bear kind of sensation. They see a big ass bear, and they're like, oh, it's cute. Go scratch it behind the ears, and then it tears them apart. So I don't think we have a good grasp of the world around us as we used to, how dangerous it can be.
I don't think I'm sure they probably, the people who's doing it probably weigh the risk, but then just move forward anyway.
Yeah.
Some, maybe not all, but.
Well, and then I've seen recently they have a robotic horse you can get on and ride. They have the looks like, what is it? Stormtroopers, the motorcycle deal things they used to ride. What are those called, Tristan? The stormtroopers that they would hover bikes. They've got a hover bike out now.
Oh, I have heard that. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, and then they got the flying cars that we were all waiting for our whole life coming out. All because of AI. Really, I mean they've launched that forward for us. It's a strange new world that we're going into.
It is.
Speeders are what they're called.
Yeah,
speeders. Yes,
they have those. I've seen them flying, and then the robotic dogs, and
I've seen the dogs. Yeah, I've seen the dogs.
Then I seen a group in China was putting a machine gun on top of one of those, and
I'll tell you something funny. When I worked at Sears, 25 years ago, I guess it was, they had because Sears had the electronics with all the TVs out there, and they had a commercial. At one time, we're going to be able to be on a mountaintop and watch our favorite sports game, and it showed a guy sitting on the skis, and
Yeah.
I think I can't remember what phone it was. I'm sure it was a flip phone at the time. But anyway, he was on it and he was watching this game.
Yeah.
It's like, now we do it everywhere.
Yeah.
But I still agree. It's 2025. We should have cell service everywhere.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of driving, and it's just not the
In
case.
and out, in and out.
It's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah. Still to this day, there's so many things that's just happening and we just take them for granted. It's just almost like magic when you try to understand what's really going on. It's like, how are we doing this now? Can you break that down for me? And
it just goes at the speed of light. I mean,
yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah.
Computers. I got a new computer desktop. I've always had a laptop for the longest time. I got a new computer, and it's basically the size of an Apple TV.
Yeah.
And it works flawless.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
And the amount of memory they put in these things nowadays, the gigabytes and terabytes and things
Dual
like that.
monitor,
Yeah. Shelby's got 3 monitors she works with, and I'm like confused whenever
it can send video wirelessly, it's just...
Isn't it nuts? It's crazy. And you can sit here and tap a phone and transfer information.
And like I said, I am a tech head. If you were talking to my wife, she'd roll her eyes because almost everything in the house is smart.
Yeah.
I can walk in and tell my Alexa, turn on home theater. Turns on home theater, turns on the Apple TV, turns the lights down, So I'm a big tech head like that.
Well, a lot of people don't realize how much they're missing out on some of their products, that they can you're just your phone alone. I bet people don't know half of what their phone can actually do.
I know.
And then you see the new generations are almost... It's like my son will call me, and I'm like, "Why are you calling me? What are you doing? Text me."
Because you won't reply for like 7 hours,
right? But I'm like, who calls people nowadays? And it's almost like the older generations are accepting technology more than the others.
Oh, I got friends that won't answer a phone call; they'll answer a text.
Yeah.
And then I got friends that only answer a phone call and not a text.
It's nuts.
Funny.
Yeah, it's crazy how we work it. So what are you? So you've got the Live Good. You got any other side gigs you're working on or ideas coming down the pipe?
No, not right now. Since I moved into sales, I've been really concentrating on that. I guess that's not an excuse though. People say you don't have enough time, but you make time for the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm heading. I really want to do the fundraising. I think that's going to help churches and schools and sports teams out. I think that's going to be a huge thing, and I'm really going to focus on that.
I have a friend who is a nonprofit. It's called Servant Inc., I believe, and he does a ton of fundraising.
Okay,
might be somebody who would be interested in what you have going on there. He does a lot of festivals and music things like that. He's got a lot going too. He does a lot for the community. He's probably one of the most selfless people I know. He's helped me here in this shop and many times, and sometimes he gives me advice and I will take it, and sometimes I don't. But he's never asked for anything really back for what he does.
Awesome.
So he's a really good guy, and that's me too. And the older I get, I want to try to I try to find ways to get back to different groups. I got burned really bad about 10, 12 years, 13, I don't know, 15 years ago. And ever since that point, I wanted to do some burn victim stuff and like children, and because I can't imagine just what I went through with that, a child that had having to deal with that. So I think that's something that's getting older. You want to do that. You want to reach out and try to give a little back to the community to help somebody.
I really do. I love helping the everyday person, the family that needs help.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could just do that, I would.
So that being said, there's also opportunities for, how hard it was for any of us to do anything. Have you considered ever maybe being like an entrepreneur coach for the up and coming groups, or like the new generations? Some of them don't even know where to start. They don't know, should I do this LLC or should I do that?
Yeah,
do I need a personal bank account? Do I need that? All those, issues that they have and what to look out for. You ever
What?
considered something like that?
I have considered it, yeah. And my wife and I have actually talked about it. One thing that she wants to do is help veterans. That if she could do nothing else, job wise,
Mhm.
she wants to do help veterans.
Yeah.
And I thought that's really cool. But we've talked about, and that's kind of how when you're doing, let's say, Live Good, you do kind of mentor
Coach,
people and you
yeah.
coach them and help them. And I love that feeling of being able to do that.
So with the Live Good, is that do you have your own, how do you, tax-wise, are you an LLC?
You're,
Or
you're
how does that?
1099.
It's a 1099. So you
1099.
basically run it
Yep.
as either an LLC or maybe doing business as, I guess, would be one of those two ways.
If you wanted to do that, you
Yeah.
can. It's not necessary.
Right.
You can just turn it in with your personal taxes.
As if just income.
I mean, if you really want to get down to it, yeah, doing something like an LLC, it's got a lot of benefits,
Right.
tax reasons wise. You go on vacation and you talk about your business. It's a tax write-off.
Yeah. So what about, and I know I don't know what timeline we're on here, Tristan, you know?
About an hour.
Okay, so we're good. You good?
You good?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we're good.
So let's switch gears and go into what is it called? Live and work balance. I forget how they actually say that.
Life work balance.
Life work
yeah,
balance.
Yeah.
So do you deal with that much now? I know you're married and children.
I have. Yeah.
I remember you had.
We're empty nesters now. So
Yeah.
she's 21, and I think I texted you that we don't often get to see her as much as we want. But yeah, I have a 21-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And love her more than life.
Yeah.
Just wish I could spend more time with her.
Sure. So what does she do?
Right now, she works at Cracker Barrel.
Okay. Just making her way.
Making her way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when she turned old enough to get that job, she did it all herself.
Really?
And she's been there faithfully ever since.
Yeah.
So she loves working for them.
Yeah, that's a big organization, and I've often seen their organization is very fine tuned. I've noticed that about they definitely have a procedure that has been tested and tried. Yeah.
The one thing I like about them is which state you're in, wherever you go, the food tastes the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what I do love about them. And their shops, they got cool little trinkets, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. So your wife, she handles you traveling. Well, I guess you don't do as much now, but when you were traveling, was that an issue? Or
the cool thing is a lot of times she could come with me because she works from home. So in her office, her company is in St. Louis, and
okay,
most of the time that's where we would go would be St. Louis. So she'd come stay in a hotel with me and
now what
do
is
her
it?
job.
What is it she does?
She works for a telecommunications company, but it's the hardware service of it, not the software.
Okay. So she's the one.
And she's been there, I think, 23 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worked for the same 4 owners for forever.
Yeah.
She loves it.
I know you guys have done a lot of different things. She's always been pretty supportive of that too, right?
She has. Yeah. She's been the best. You couldn't ask for anybody better than Christy. Yeah. And it's funny because we went to school with her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you would remember, if I wouldn't have told you, by looking at her now, you'd be like, hey, I don't remember you.
Yeah.
She looks totally different. But there's only one person out of high school that's recognized her. It was just funny. We saw him in a mall one time, and he even said, hey, how you doing, Christy?
Yeah.
And we're both like, what?
Yeah.
But, yeah, she's super supportive. And, yeah, we're really good at supporting each other in what endeavors we want to do.
Yeah. So what are your hobbies? You got anything besides just work?
Going back to the work-life balance,
Mm-hmm.
and it is kind of hard because with merchandising, I was working 55, roughly hours a week.
Right.
But, if you want to get ahead in life and you want more, then you just gotta work it in.
Yeah.
And you can. That's the cool thing about it, something like is, if you're driving from here to Calvert City, you can work it. You can call somebody and you can talk to them. You can work it anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is for me, that's so, because I have so many things going on every minute of my day, I'm trying to, like you said, if I'm driving from here to the house, I'm making 2 phone calls.
Yeah.
Or, as if I'm sitting in an office somewhere waiting for someone, I'm emailing someone on my phone.
Right.
It
Yep.
takes a lot. And
It does.
you really
It
got to
does,
rely on those
absolutely.
people that work with you too. I have a lot of good people help me stay on track and keep my calendar updated. I always ask, even my wife, we have a central calendar for my shop and everything else, and it's all color coded. So she's like, "You remember this and this and this?" I said, "Is it on the calendar?" She's like, "Yes." Then I remember, because that's my mind.
We do the same thing. Remember, I'm a tech head, so we have one of those Amazon screens on the wall, and
Yeah.
it's just like the central place we go to.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody would live without it right now. Yeah. So, but with the work life, when do you get to take some time and just do what you'd like? What are some of your hobbies and things like that?
Honestly, I try to spend time with friends and family as much as I can.
Yeah.
I think that's an extremely important part of someone's life.
Right.
Basketball, I love basketball. We have now I have a 2-car garage with a workout gym in there. I bought a power rack, and those things have come down in price big time. I
Yeah.
mean, they're very affordable now. Now, it doesn't come with everything. You still got to buy the weights and the barbell. And,
Sure.
but now we just work out in the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, not the gym, our home gym, our garage
Right.
gym.
Yeah. So not a lot of gaming though.
No, my buddy Rob, he's a big arcade. He loves the old games, classics, and we're playing a lot of those at times. But a lot of the new ones, I don't know. I
Just don't have the interest you used to have.
No, I kind of got out of it. I
Yeah.
guess maybe as you get older, just things change.
Yeah.
Now there's still games I'll play. Halo. Anytime a Halo comes out, I'll play Halo.
Right.
I'm a Halo fanatic, but
Yeah. I guess for me, it's hard to understand what empty nester means, because my children have all been spread apart. I've always had a toddler, it seems like.
Yeah.
So for me, when I get home, about 8:30 or 9 o'clock is my time. And I stay up way too late with my time just because it's there.
That's right.
Yeah. So, where are you? So just some of the general podcast questions. How do you feel about the state of the world we're in right now?
I believe it's getting better. It's definitely, I don't know. I'm just going from experience growing up. It does seem like it's in turmoil. I mean, it just feels like it's all over the place. Things that we were brought up to believe, are no longer there. But I do see great stuff on the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I often talk about it. I don't lean one way or another on anything necessarily. I just see it the way I see it. And for me, it feels like it's like the body. The body is taken care of by the arms and hands, and you need a left arm and you need a right arm.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one of those, then the body struggles.
That's a good point.
And I think we are. For me, it's a unity thing. I have a unique perspective with these old cars out here. I have guys, from the 80s. And if you didn't, a Camaro is it. And it's got to have this motor and this transmission. And if you do anything besides that, you're wrong. It's just simple, straightforward, wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but there's so many car guys out there that are young who could care less about that. So, if they like a lowrider truck or anything that they're in, for me as a car guy, I would say great. You know what I mean? I don't expect everybody to see things the way I see them.
Sure.
or like the things that I like. I mean, and we get to a point in the world where if you don't see exactly the way I see it or like exactly what I like, and that's everybody. And I think we're going to have to find a way to get away from that.
That I agree 100%.
Because we got to find a way for the left and the right arm to work in unison to help the body.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. If you don't agree with somebody, the cancel culture, it's like people can have differences and still get along.
Absolutely.
And that's where we've lost our way, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a challenge and I hope that we, as we go forward, we find a way to overcome that. So what do you think the meaning of life is?
The meaning of life.
It's one of those podcast questions, you know.
The meaning of life is to have fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it simple. It's just to have fun.
Yeah, enjoy it, right?
Enjoy it. Yeah, because it's short.
It is.
Yeah, you don't realize it. Young kids don't realize that.
No.
But you grow up so fast. You know, you've heard that once your kids get out of high school, it's just like boom. That means just. I remember Kennedy going through high school. I just said the other day we drove by the Marshall County High School, and I'm like, man, it seemed like it went overnight.
Yeah.
Just so fast. No, just try to enjoy life. It's tough. We all live in tough times, and we go through so much, but you can choose to be happy.
That's a good way to look at it. You can choose to be happy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had several people say different things. I had one person tell me that you should live intentionally. And I think that you put those together, you should live intentionally to be happy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
a good way to go about it. Yeah, I think that we get so tangled up in everything that's out there, and we if we're not having some kind of turmoil in our lives, I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I've seen that so often lately that people will just want extra drama in their life. And I'm like, I avoid it like the plague.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think we live in a society that's, and TikTok is YouTube is the same way. We want things in 10-second intervals, 15-second. We just want it so fast.
Yeah.
And we need to slow down. We just need to slow down.
I'm a big movie guy. I love movies.
Me too.
And people make fun of me because I'll say I think it's one of the one of the most important inventions in mankind was movies.
I agree.
Because it is an art form that is you're so free to express yourself. So I'm a big movie buff. So my wife and my kids, you know, my youngest son has now become my movie buff with me. So he hangs out. He's 8, and we watch a lot of the old shows. And this is not a knock to the new generations, but that attention span is no longer there.
Correct.
And I love her to death, but my wife, because she's I guess you would just call her an influencer at this point. She's there, and so she will watch a movie with me. It takes a lot, but she'll have her phone right there with her, and you know, and it's not. I'm not saying that as a negativity. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
And you see people like our generation will give the new generations a hard time over their phones.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, yeah, but what are they going to be doing 10 years from now? You know,
Well, one of my favorite sayings is, if I'll catch Christy doing something and I want her to pay attention, be with me in the moment. I'm like, okay, be in the moment.
Yeah.
And she'll go, I am in the moment. She'll get all fiery on me. But
yeah, I think we have to have a balance there, because you can't just, everything is technology based nowadays.
It is.
You can't, like even my son, if you don't have internet, they'll pay you, to get internet for school. Because everything's online and everything.
It is, everything.
If you go to the doctor's office, you use your phone to scan in.
Yep.
So
then you can do, video between your doctor and yourself.
Conference.
If you got something going, you got a question, just hop right on and diagnose it right there.
I think some of those things are awesome and a great move forward, for everyone. All right, so. What's next? You're just going to continue, like you said, you got your plate full with HT Hackney and live good.
Our goal right now is we both turned 50 this year. We want to be totally debt free. That's a big goal of ours, and we want to retire by 65.
Yeah.
So that's where we're heading. That's where we're going. We got all of our eggs not in one basket. We got them in multiple streams of income, so we can accomplish that.
Yeah.
Investing, that's another thing I'm new to.
Yeah.
Why I didn't do this when I was younger, I smack myself all the time. I guess you just, as you grow, as you age, you just grow, and you look at things different.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have invested. Somebody that can invest $50 now. My daughter at 21. She's hard-headed. I love her. But if she would invest $50 a month right now,
sure.
25, something, you can grow it later. You could be a millionaire by the time she retires.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I do believe.
And I didn't know that. I didn't have nobody to show me that.
Sure.
You know?
Well, I think for our generation, and especially the location where we were, you kind of had to figure things out on your own.
You do. Yes.
You kind of, and for me, it's always. I just want to give my kids a jump off at a higher point than I did. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Give them the opportunity. And also to value that opportunity.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't see that when you're not coming from the bottom.
And we both know sometimes you got to experience it on your own in order to feel the good or bad of it.
Right.
So a lot of that is just being young and growing.
Yeah. Well, great. All right, man. Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I'd love to do it again sometime.
We'll definitely will. Yeah. I'd like to know more about the Live Good, and we're going to research that. And then we'll put all those, if you have any social media or anything like that, we can tag that along here too.
All right. Thank you.
Sounds like a pretty interesting idea. And we should definitely get back together and maybe look into like what I was telling you about the new generations and what how to help them overcome those startup costs
and stuff. Yeah.
And that was something I was really pushing too, because everything I've done has been very unorthodox in how I generated the capital to do that.
Yeah.
You can't just walk into a bank that's always and say, hey, I got this great idea, but I need X amount of dollars.
Extremely tough. I mean, it's gotten worse since COVID. Since COVID, things have changed.
Well, and I see people trying to start up new businesses and the things that are important. It's all very romantic in a way when you're trying to start a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want this little boutique or something somebody might want, or this person over here might want to do donuts or whatever. And they think about it in a way of, how exciting and fun that is. And I'm like, maybe you're going to make this particular little widget. Well, how about after 500,000 of those widgets? Are you still going to be, are you still going to be motivated? And those are the questions I think people need to ask themselves getting into business.
Well, just getting started. I mean, people think like starting an LLC is extremely hard, but it's not.
Oh, it's super easy.
It is super. You can do it yourself.
And
it's really pennies. It's not comparative. It's pennies.
Yeah. So. But I think the thing that's more struggle, like I'm sure you had different in your businesses, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired of this problem. Or every day you wake up, there's something else you got to deal with,
Well, and I'm glad you called me in here as an entrepreneur. I still don't consider myself this great, successful entrepreneur. I'm hard on myself. I know and I'll call him out too, because he's a good friend of mine and he's helped me before. Is Tristan Smith. He's a successful businessman.
Yeah.
And I look up to him, even though he doesn't know that.
Right.
But that's one of the best ways you can learn is just get with a mentor.
Absolutely.
And let them help you.
Yeah. Well, I consider you a 2-0 entrepreneur. I mean, you've had, and you probably more than that, but you've had 2 businesses. And you had them successful enough that you could sell them and you didn't go out of business. So in the world I live in, that's pretty damn good.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm a risk taker. I don't mind taking risks, but I try to be smart about it.
Yeah.
I look at something and see, okay, am I going into $1 million debt or can I bounce back from it?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Right.
So
cool. Well, I'm excited about the new whatever comes along.
Yeah, I am too, man.
Who knows?
And you're doing great as well. I love seeing you grow.
Yeah.
And all the things that you have done to get where you're at.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have that mentorship, from the beginning.
Yes.
So yeah, I really think there might be something there. So something to look at. But who knows? I mean, I think that setting yourself up for success every day, for something good to happen, is key. Because anything good can happen, but you think, sure, if you have a good mindset and all this, but yeah, if you're not setting yourself up, and I've done it many a times, I'm not setting myself up to have a good day.
Yep.
You got to put some things in place to make that happen.
You absolutely do.
So hopefully you and I have got that on the way, and those good things are coming down the pipe.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming out. We'll definitely do it again sometime. Enjoyed
Thank you,
it.
Joe. I appreciate it.
It's been a little bit of a trial getting our schedules worked out, but I think it was worth it. So
yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it,
buddy. Appreciate you.
Yada, yada, yada. I never heard from him again.